These are the worst fights Stewie and Brian have had over the years, and in the first spot, we have Patriot Games. In this episode, Brian gets himself into more trouble than he can handle, and Stewie is there to make sure he pays every penny. The trouble starts with Brian betting on a celebrity boxing match involving Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. Oh, right, that was me. In the Family Guy universe, Tyson was fighting Carol Channing. What? Rings no bells? Well, a little Googling tells us that she was an old Broadway star that looked like she could have been knocked over by a mild breeze. And just like me, Brian puts his money on Tyson. And again, just like me, he was dead wrong. Tyson ends up eating Channing's punches for breakfast, and Brian's left with a $50 hole in his wallet.
You know, Mike Tyson once beat up his wife, but there's nothing funny about that.
Problem is, Brian's not exactly Mr. Responsible when it comes to paying his debts. He thinks he can buy himself some time, but Stewie, who's moonlighting as a sports bookie this week, is not one to let things slide. And let me tell you, Stewie's got a collection strategy that'd make Tony Soprano blush. So, we get one of the most iconic, brutal, and honestly kind of funny scenes in Family Guy history. Stewie tracks Brian down in the bathroom, and all bets are off, literally.
Yeah, that hurt? That hurt?
What the hell?
Yeah, it don't feel so good, does it?
Brian gets absolutely wrecked with Stewie beating him senseless. The guy's flailing around in a way that's somewhere between a WWE match and a bad TikTok dance. It's a full-on beatdown, and Stewie doesn't hold back. But wait, it gets worse. Later, he sees Brian strutting around with a fake mustache like some bargain bin disguise will make him invisible. Yeah, because nothing says I don't owe money quite like a tacky mustache that looks like it came free with a pack of gum. Predictably, Stewie's not fooled. He pushes Brian down the stairs and follows that up with even more hits, then shoots him in both legs for good measure. Oh, and because this is Stewie, he sets Brian on fire too. Overkill at its finest.
How much you pay for that fake mustache?
$2.99.
At this point, Brian realizes he's out of options. The two head to the bank, and Brian settles the debt, money in hand, shaking like a leaf. But Stewie's so pleased with himself that, as they head off to England, he offers Brian one free revenge shot. Kind of like the worst coupon ever, but Brian, always the opportunist, doesn't tell Stewie when that punch is coming. Instead, he lets Stewie stew, pun intended, in his paranoia.
Tell me when it's gonna come. Just do something. Anything. Look, I'll do it. I'll do it first.
Stewie starts beating himself up, literally flailing around like he's in a bad action movie just to try and preempt Brian's hit. Steroids. Stewie has a bit of an ego, so what happens when his pride gets bruised? A whole lot of steroids, it turns out. It all starts at a backyard barbecue at the Swansons. Stewie ends up picking a fight with Susie Swanson, Joe's baby daughter, and let me tell you, it does not go well for our man Stewie. Susie puts him down faster than a bad spin-off.
Oh my God, Stewie!
Ha! Your kid got beat up by a baby girl.
Stewie, utterly humiliated, ends up bruised all over, and Peter, of course, decides the answer is to make Stewie a man by taking him to the Quahog boxing gym. Yeah, because nothing screams responsible parenting like injecting toxic masculinity straight into your toddler. One of the gym instructors even gives Peter some steroids to help Stewie out. Naturally, Peter thinks this is a great idea. If there's anyone you can trust in this world, it's a stranger at your local gym, suspiciously holding a needle.
Here, Stewie, try this.
Yeah, what the hell are you do? Oh my! Suddenly I'm full of energy. All right, fat man, let's do this.
And after a quick 80s style montage, boom, now we have buff Stewie. Stewie's completely jacked and obsessed with his looks. He's got the muscles, the swagger, and unfortunately, the attitude to match.
You look like Lou Ferrigno's poop.
Suddenly, Brian becomes his punching bag, quite literally. Stewie starts pushing Brian around, loving every second of his newfound power. Stewie taunts Brian, flexing his biceps. He doesn't even let Brian go down the stairs without going full steroid rage on him, asking for a toll.
Is there a problem? Huh? You wanna go? You wanna go?
Go? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about go. That's what I'm talking about.
But as with all shortcuts, there's a catch. Eventually, the steroids wear off, and Stewie's body takes a turn for the grotesque. Stewie's skin goes loose and flabby, leaving him looking like a deflated balloon. Desperate to escape Brian's inevitable payback, Stewie jumps out of his bedroom window. Luckily, or maybe unluckily, his sagging skin helps him glide like some sort of meaty flying squirrel, gliding him to safety. Too gross for me. Let's move on.
And now, here's something we hope you'll really like.
In Peter Normal Activity, Brian irritates Stewie by doing what he does best, pretending to be an intellectual just because he got a new pair of glasses.
It's just that when you've read as many books as I have, it takes a toll, you know?
Stewie's fed up, seriously. What is it with Brian and these attempts to impress women by acting like he's the smartest dog in the room? Stewie decides enough is enough. Those glasses need to go.
That's it. I'm putting an end to this. I'm gonna destroy those glasses if it's the last thing I do.
Cue the plan. While Brian enjoys his spa time, Stewie asks Chris to help him break into Brian's locker room, steal his glasses, and get rid of them. And well, Chris being Chris, it's not exactly Ocean's 11 material. Instead of smoothly getting the glasses, Chris manages to lock them both in the sauna. Brilliant.
Chris, What are you doing in here?
I did it. I locked us in the sauna.
The guys manage to break out of the sauna after some time. They leave looking like Stewie at the end of the previous episode, though. And then we get to the grand finale. Forget subtlety, Stewie grabs a baseball bat and takes a swing right at Brian's face. Desperate times call for desperate and really funny measures.
Hey, Bri?
Yeah?
Ah! Damn it! Ah! There's glass in my eye!
After dealing with Brian's new glasses fiasco, you'd think Stewie might get a break from drama, right? Wrong. He's got a whole new level of emotional roller coaster waiting in. Dog bites bear. Stewie's all geared up for a fast and furious marathon. A chill day with Rupert, just the two of them, ready for some high-octane family-themed action. But then Brian shows up, clearly not getting the memo. The plan was pretty much ruined by Brian's dismissive attitude.
Ludicrous, human peanut. Tyrese, Chinese black.
Are you gonna keep talking like this during the whole thing?
What? I'm answering Rupert's questions.
Stewie eventually heads to bed, leaving Rupert to sleep on the couch after a fictional argument with his teddy. But they make up before bed and everything is fine. Except when he wakes up, he finds Brian, now drunk, has completely destroyed Rupert. To say Stewie is heartbroken would be an understatement. He starts beating the hell out of Brian immediately, screaming at him, while the poor alcoholic pooch begs for forgiveness.
Let me make it up to you, please. How about you kill something I love?
How about I do that?
Not only that, but he decides to cut off Brian from his life completely. No more friendship, no more Road 2 episodes, no more internet friendships, nada.
Twitter, unfollow. Instagram, unfollow. Snapchat, unfollow.
Brian, desperate to make things right, follows Stewie on a trip to Vermont, where Stewie plans to scatter Rupert's ashes from the summit of Mount Mansfield. When they reach the mountain, the tension that had been simmering erupts into a full-blown fight.
Leave me alone! Murderer!
Brian eventually confesses that his actions were driven by jealousy. He was tired of playing second fiddle to a stuffed bear. That, of course, just angers our favorite English accent baby genius, so punches are thrown, insults fly, and at one point, Stewie even tries to choke Brian. But Brian fights back and accidentally throws Stewie off a cliff. Stewie breaks a leg like a cliche good luck wish, and Brian's forced to carry the poor sap on a makeshift stretcher up the mountain.
You know, maybe it's appropriate that you're my ride-up. Rupert always called you my bitch.
Despite the drama, they somehow make it to the summit. They scatter Rupert's ashes together, finally airing their grievances and finding some common ground, albeit bruised and battered.
Pour it out, whatever you have. Pour it out.
I have a Gatorade bottle full of pee from the bus.
Pour it out.
And just when you think things might finally be done, Brian quietly replaces Rupert with a new bear, an understated attempt to patch up what he broke. With Stewie and Brian finally on the mend after the whole Rupert debacle, you'd think their cohabitation might get a bit smoother. Enter allergies, straw-filled pillows, and a ferret, all of which lead us straight into the chaos off Peter's Def Jam. Stewie and Brian are about to face another bout of forced proximity, thanks to Peter's questionable choice of stuffing the pillowcases with straw. Lois, sneezing up a storm, kicks Brian out of their room, forcing him to bunk with Stewie.
Roomies? Dude, this'll be so ill.
Who are you?
I'll tell you who. Your new roommate.
The two are initially excited about bunking together, planning to stay up late, party, and watch perverted movies where Keira Knightley gets spanked. Vintage roommate stuff. The excitement doesn't last though. Brian's slovenly habits are soon driving Stewie nuts. He empties out his storage unit and starts nestling in Stewie's room. Brian even starts bringing his pretentious hipster friends to listen jazz on vinyl, which is pretty indefensible and insufferable, you must admit. Brian even causes a flea problem in Stewie's room.
Hey, Bri! You wanna hang out?
Go away, flea! You're not welcome here!
In a desperate bid to drive Brian away, Stewie brings in a ferret because, let's face it, no one wants to live with a ferret. The two start going at each other until Lois intervenes, revealing the true culprit behind her allergies. Peter had stuffed the pillows with straw because he thought it looked comfortable in cartoons. Stewie and Brian make amends, but the peace is short-lived. Right after their apology, the ferret makes a comeback.
I hope you and your ferret are happy in here together.
Well, now that you're moving out, I'll probably just drown it in the tub.
Ah, Ryan! Ryan!
Another typical day in the Griffin household. The hand that rocks the wheelchair. No one likes to have their sandcastle knocked down, as we learned today, especially not Stewie Griffin. Unfortunately, Stewie's confidence takes a nosedive after he fails to take revenge on a kid at the park due to his gun malfunctioning. Brian comes along and figures out the gun wasn't the problem. Our boy is simply becoming soft. Frustrated and determined to restore his edge, Stewie builds a neural enhancement device to make himself more evil. The little melonhead decides to take the thing for a spin, but nothing happens. He even tries offending Brian and fails. Instead of just enhancing himself, Stewie's invention creates an evil clone of himself. You didn't think Stewie was evil enough? Well, here's a more eviler version. Grammar is not my forte, okay? Somewhat surprisingly, the evil Stewie immediately goes after Brian, who mistakes him for the original Stewie. The two are pretty identical, who can blame him? Although when evil Stewie takes a pair of batteries and sticks them in his nose, Brian figures something smelling fishy around here.
What the hell is your problem?
Me? What did I do? You're the one going all Michael Hutchins over here.
When real Stewie rescues him, it takes Brian a second to figure out what's going on. When Stewie understands what had happened, he decides to study evil Stewie. But the problem is, Stewie himself isn't safe either. The clone beats up Stewie, and in one of the more disgusting scenes on this whole list, pulls a switchblade and cuts off Brian's tail, which he then sticks into Stewie's mouth. Nope, we're not showing the uncensored version here. But cutting off puppy dog tails isn't the worst thing he's done. His biggest crime? Luring the Kool-Aid Man to his death.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh, yeah!
Stewie realizes that he needs to stop his evil doppelganger. To do that, he and Brian use Brian as bait. When evil Stewie arrives, the fight becomes chaotic, with Stewie and his clone rolling around and tearing at each other. Brian finally gets his hands on the ray gun, but the two Stewies look identical. To figure out who's the real Stewie, Brian tells them both to look at their feet.
Why? They're just feet.
What are they doing down there? They're like leg hands.
That's the cue Brian needs. He shoots the clone. As Stewie and Brian walk away, thinking the nightmare is over, the remaining Stewie turns back, his eyes glowing yellow as a sinister laugh echoes. So that's the kind of twisted adventure that only Family Guy could serve up. If you thought this was wild, you need to check out our video on every time Brian took advantage of women. Believe me, the lows he can reach are unmatched.